Greetings, ladies and managers, and welcome to this narration of the web series Humans Don't Make Good Familiars. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Book 2, Chapter 35. Suma's Point of View. We were left alone in that desert, surrounded by the bodies of our murdered comrades. After a far too brief count of who survived, we discovered that only 4 of us remained. Myself, Captain Rizzoan, one lieutenant, and the private whose wing had been, removed in the attack. I was still in shock, but while everyone began discussing what to do, I was treating the private to the best of my ability.
What happened? Why were we attacked?
Now the anxious lieutenant asked. Are we sure they were court mages? The captain asked.
Yes, sir. They were wearing the symbols of the court, and they were certainly powerful enough.
The lieutenant answered. I saw the captain glance at me for a moment, but I was too distracted with the dying private and my own thoughts to think about why.
Captain, this private needs a full team of healers, not one. He will likely not survive if he does not get proper treatment, I said.
We'll carry him back to the capital, the captain answered.
Captain, are we sure that's wise? If more mages,
the lieutenant interjected, but the captain cut him off. Those mages, whomever they were, attacked us in the wasteland after waiting for us to leave the city. They will not risk attacking us in a major population.
How do you know that, sir? I asked.
Captain Rizzoan looked at me. I do not, but that Niama, he needs healing, and you cannot do it alone. We have no choice.
I am not sure that he will survive, even if we do take him to the city, Captain, I said.
I looked down at the private, who was covered in his own blood. Where his wing was once attached, now existed only a bloody stump, scarred over by healing magic and burnt feathers. The glow from the private's besmears was nearly completely gone.
If I had not started healing him, if I had waited even a moment longer...
You did well, Private Suma. Your familiar saved us, and, I will have to give me my thanks, the captain said.
Jake, I thought. No, that was not Jake.
I decided not to bring up what had actually happened. Not yet. After wrapping the wounded private in their manner, the captain and lieutenant carried him back to the city. I flew closely to him and monitored his wound, occasionally casting healing spells as needed. The private was, of course, light enough that only one of them actually needed to carry him, but in order to keep his body as stable as possible, both worked together. We flew quickly but carefully, and we all watched the skies for more mages that may have survived, or simply been waiting. Eventually, we landed in front of the guard station, and one of them flew over to us. What happened to this Niama? The guard asked.
I'm Captain Rizzoan, and this is my lieutenant, and these two are privates. Our squad was attacked. This Niama needs the immediate attention of healers.
Upon hearing the captain's brief explanation, the guard's eyes glowed yellow, and a magic circle formed around the ground and around him. I felt the feathers stand up, but nothing happened. A moment later, the guard's spell was over. The healers are on their way. Explain what happened. Do you know who attacked you?
We were attacked by mages bearing the symbol of the royal court. They killed several members of our group in the desert, the captain said.
Court mages? What? Why would they attack you?
I do not know. We were their invited guests just yesterday.
How did you escape? The guard asked.
At that same time, 3 Niama landed beside the private, whom I was still treating, and cast several spells on him, while 4 of the other guards landed beside the first 2 who was already interrogating us. Some of the guards cast mana-wrapping spells around the private and prepared to carry him off with the healers.
We'll take it from here, one of them said. I fluttered back and out of their way. We did not escape. We summoned our familiars and fought them off. They retreated, but I saw them cast a spell as they flew away that killed all of their survivors. And himself.
Killed themselves?
Why? The guard asked. I believe, Captain Rizzoan glanced at me, that a spell was cast on them that affected their minds, making them turn on each other.
Do you know who cast that spell?
It was one of our familiars.
I see, the guard said. You all will have to follow me, so that we can confirm your story.
The guard led the 3 of us to a local station, a large structure formed from molded stone and reinforced with sculpted trees. It was half buried into the side of the city's wall, a well-defended location. Admittedly, I became nervous at the thought of going into the station, even to the point that the captain took notice. It'll be fine. The city's guards are not under the supervision of the council. They are controlled directly by the royal mages and a local judge, he reassured me.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, Captain, I said.
We were led into a room, and a single guard joined us, along with 2 mages, one of which introduced himself as a memory delver. Immediately, I was struck with a sense of familiarity, and I realized I had been in this situation before, 1.5 years ago.
when Jake and I were attacked by those nobles. First the captain and the lieutenant were questioned by the memory delver and the guard, while the second mage cast a spell that linked the three of their minds together. He asked them both the same questions, and both the delver and the guard seemed to agree that neither was lying. Finally, it was my turn. The mage cast a spell at me, and the guard began asking his questions. "How did the attack begin?" he asked. "One of the lieutenants saw mages in the distance, and then they attacked us," I said. "How many attackers were there?" "Many, 20 or more. Everything happened so fast, it all became a blur during the chaos." "After you summoned your familiar, the one who drove off the attackers, what did you do?" During the captain and lieutenant's questioning, they had discussed Jake's actions. "The private, he lost his wing. I cast a healing spell on him," I said. The three looked at one another, most likely talking privately through their connection. They seemed confused. "Your familiar, you are conflicted about him." "Why?" the guard asked. He was not, I looked away for a moment and towards the captain. The memory delver seemed concerned, and soon that demeanor was shared by the other two as well. "I do not believe the thing I summoned was Jake." "What do you mean?" the captain asked. "It looked like Jake and sounded like him, but it did not act like him," I said, nearly singing. After everything, I was only barely able to hold myself together. My breathing was ragged, and I can only imagine how I must have appeared. It took some time after the battle, but I had eventually noticed I was covered in the private's blood and sand from the desert. "The image of your familiar, that what you saw in the battle, are conflicted with your mind, Private Zuma. At the very least you believe what you are saying," the guard said. "Please, think about the events you witnessed." I thought about how I watched Jake cast those spells, mutilate those mages, and eventually try to turn on me. The familiar's curse stopped him from turning on me. The memory delver spoke for the first time since she introduced herself. Yes, I do not know what it was that I summoned, but Jake would never try and harm me, and he would never use death magic to kill people," I said, and the image of that noble in the alleyway appeared in my mind. "You have had experience with death magic. It still haunts you," the guard said after a moment of silence. Suddenly, the mage maintaining the memory delve ended the spell. "We have all the information we need. Your group was attacked by mages, apparently from the royal court, and you defended yourself. That much is clear." "Yes. I assume the city guards will pursue the proper course of action and get my fallen soldiers the justice they deserve," Captain Rizzoan asked, intensely, as if he was asking the guards would not simply forget about this to prevent themselves from entering the poor graces of the council. "I assure you we will investigate this matter fully. However, it seems that since everyone who attacked you was slain, that may end up more difficult a task that you or I may wish." The guard turned to me. "However, death magic in all its forms, it is illegal by royal decree. Private Zuma, you will need to remain here for a while longer, until the decision can be made on whether the actions of your familiar violate that decree." End Book 2, Chapter 36, Jake's Point of View. My head felt like it was going to explode, and then I heard Suma's voice, and the pain stopped. I expected to appear beside Suma, but instead, something bad happened. My body disappeared, but I stayed behind in that black void. "Jake," a voice from the darkness said, "can you hear me?" "Who's there?" I asked, which was weird because I didn't have a mouth at the moment. Without a sound, the image of a flaming man slowly appeared in front of me, like an ember that kept getting bigger. It was the flaming figure again, but he was different this time. He was missing his reptilian half. "My name is Zachariah. Don't worry, I'm a friend." He moved closer to me and wrapped his hands around where my head was. What's going on? What's happening?" I asked, confused. "Why did you attack me again? Where is my body?" For some reason, I couldn't get angry or even scared, despite this being a pretty good excuse for both. "I did not attack you. Well, I sort of did. Your body is in Antmeria, your master's world." "You mean Atmosia?" "Is that what they're calling it now? It doesn't matter. What does matter is that Danger is in your body and is trying to keep it that way." "Who's Danger?" "Focus. Your master's in trouble," he said urgently, but for some reason I still couldn't get upset. "Okay, I'll focus." "If what I think is going to happen happens, then we'll only have an instant to get you back into your body." "What's going to happen?" "He's going to try and kill Suma," he said. The flames that make up his mouth lowered into a frown, like one of those theater masks with really exaggerated features. Actually, speaking of features, he didn't have many. He had a standard human shape, although it was made of flames, 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth. But it all moved around, like I trying to look through fire. I'd prefer if he didn't. Focus, Jake. When he tried to kill Suma, the familiar's curse will activate. It'll give us just a moment to pull your body back here and put you back inside of it. How do we do that? You're going to invert your summoning. How do I do that? You haven't learned? But I gave you all those memories. Everything you needed to learn should have been in there, he yelled, and his face started to look angry. I haven't seen most of them. They made me sick too. Why did you do that? He groaned. All right, fine. I'll invert your magic for you, but you still need to perform the summoning. But I can't summon Suma, I pointed out. I don't want you to summon her. You need to summon yourself to her. But how do I do that? When I asked that, his head lowered slightly, and his face looked sad. I'm going to be stuck in here forever. You have weapons, right? Yes. Have you seen the red thread? Yes. Good! When I tell you, picture the red thread that connects you and your master, and imagine the half of it that connects to you drawing closer to her. And that'll summon me to Suma. It would, but I'm going to invert it. That will draw your body back here. Then what? Then you need to go back into your body. I'll send you home. And you won't be able to do this again? No. You'll try the next time you come through this place. He shook his head. Then how do I prevent this from happening again? I wondered, confused. By never crossing that boundary between worlds again. If you do, you will unleash danger again, and he will not make the same mistake twice. So, I can never see Suma again? I asked, still unable to feel sad, but I knew this is going to make me feel very sad later. I could send you to live with your master, or I can send, Jake, it's time, do it now, he shouted. The image of the thread came into mind. I saw it stretch between myself and Suma, connecting at the center of our heads. I pictured that thread going taut, and my half drawing closer to Suma. Then I felt a power flowing around me, and the thread turned blue. My body appeared next to me, and it was screaming, No! No! How? Zachariah reached into my body and pulled from my chest the flaming figure of a flaming serpentine-style dragon. He wrestled it for a moment before the two rejoined together and formed the familiar image of the figure in flames that I knew before. Its body twisted in onto itself as I moved closer to my body. And, like a blink, I was back inside it somehow. Go, Jake! The figure said and reached out with a human hand pointing at me. And never return! Darkness surrounded me again, and Zachariah's voice faded away. When I opened my eyes, I wasn't at home, but I wasn't with Suma either. I was laying in a desert, surrounded by dead Niema. End of story. I would quickly like to thank our Tier 5 patrons, Draxoon WRE, Quantum Wednesday, AmbroseKTal, Lord Ashrakal, Bushmaster 177, Casper Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, and Arcadian. Thank you very much.